Bonjour Barista Herben.
Good morning, Jerisol.
Bienvenue à l'Ex Natural Peoples, chaîne d'information sur le droit des ressources naturelles. En l'occurrence, droit pétrole et gaz, droit des mines, droit de l'eau, droit de l'énergie, droit de la régulation, droit de l'urbanisme, normes et certifications, études impact environnemental, responsabilité sociale des entreprises.
You're welcome to our very new channel, Lex Naturale or Peoples. We are going to bring to you the laws with which we're going to work throughout this channel. To list a few, we have regulation law, we have environmental impact assessment, we have environmental law, we have petroleum law, which talks about oil and gas, we have mining law, we have water law, right?
Yeah.
We have nonsense certifications, we have urban planning law, just to name a few.
Oui, nous allons continuer à parler aujourd'hui de l'évolution du droit des ressources naturelles. Nous allons parler de l'histoire. Comment est-ce que les ressources naturelles ont progressé? Comment est-ce qu'elles ont été administrées? Parce que nous parlons du Cameroun. Nous voyons que l'histoire de l'évolution du droit des ressources naturelles est très vieille plus que le Cameroun, parce qu'elle a débuté en 1900 avec les chefs. C'était des chefs qui dirigeaient, qui administraient les ressources naturelles selon la loi des peuples, qu'on appelle les lois coutumières. C'est pour ça qu'on dit qu'elle est plus vieille que le Cameroun, parce que l'indépendance du Cameroun a eu lieu en 1960. Et nous devons noter que après l'arrivée des premiers administrateurs coloniaux, les ressources naturelles étaient maintenant administrées par les colonisateurs. C'est eux qui dirigeaient, qui mettaient de l'ordre, qui voyaient comment est-ce que les ressources naturelles devaient être organisées, devaient être gérées. Et pour cela, il fallait un permis. Aucun peuple ne pouvait aller exploiter un sol, ne pouvait aller à la chasse ou exercer ou aller tuer un animal sans toutefois avoir reçu un permis signé par eux, bien entendu. Cela a créé des conflits, cela a créé des tensions. Et nous voyons que en 1960, malgré cela, l'évolution du Cameroun avec l'indépendance, il y a eu la création des aires protégées et des réserves, telles que la réserve de Sancho, la réserve de Déa, la réserve de Douala. Barista Egbe.
Thank you, Jerisol. So, talking about the history on the evolution of natural resources in Cameroon as a case study, this history starts from a very long period in the 1900s. However, we started with chiefs and natives before the arrival of colonial powers. Before these colonial powers came, the chiefs were the sole administrators. They were the voice that the people, the natives, had to resort to, the indigenes had to ask before carrying out anything on their territories. So before any exploration or exploitation was done, they needed to hear from the chiefs. If they had to explore a particular part in the forest to hunt down certain species of perhaps monkeys, they were supposed to hear from their chief. The chiefs could say monkeys are going extinct. So for like 3 months, no one is permitted to hunt down monkeys. So that was the way that the chiefs used to protect a particular species, so that it had time to regenerate, to reproduce and multiply, so that the species doesn't go extinct. But immediately the colonial powers came after 1900, things changed. It became a situation where the natives found it very difficult to function, because it had changed from asking their chiefs what to do to explore either the topsoil, like forest and cutting down of trees, and even to go down digging underneath the soil for anything. They had to now go to the colonialists to ask for permission. This permission was in the form of permits.
Yeah, very important.
So you were either getting a permit or you were getting a license. whichever one, that simply meant that the colonial powers were the ones in charge. And being in charge, they brought about two things. They changed two things in which they brought about a specific domain they called protected species.
Yeah.
These were like species they'll say, you do not have the right to touch this one. They also brought about reserves, which brought about a situation where they created two reserves, one in Edea and one in Sancho. So be that as it may, we found that colonialists had taken over the chiefs as the administrators of our natural resources. Over to you for the second part.
Oui, nous continuons toujours avec l'évolution qui est très intéressante. Hein. Et nous voyons vraiment que, comme Barista Egbe vient de dire, hein, nous disons que en 1960, avec ces créations des réserves et des aires protégées, ils ne se sont pas arrêtés là. Et de 1960 jusqu'à présent, les ressources naturelles sont sous la responsabilité maintenant de différents ministères. Et concernant ces différents ministères, nous n'allons pas tout énumérer. Nous allons énumérer certains ministères tels que le ministère des Mines, de l'Industrie et du Développement technologique qui est régi par le décret numéro 2012-432 du 1er octobre 2012 portant organisation du ministère des Mines, de l'Industrie et du Développement technologique. Nous avons le ministère de l'Environnement et de la Protection de la Nature, du Développement durable, régi sur la loi numéro 96-012 du 05 août 1996 portant loi 4 relative à la gestion de l'environnement. Et pour terminer, nous avons le ministère de la Forêt et de la Faune, régi selon la loi numéro 94-01 du 20 janvier 1994 portant régime des forêts, de la faune et de la pêche.
So, talking about the continuation, so after we had the colonial powers coming into force, they finally had to give way to the administration by our very own people who in that period after independence created ministries. So the ministries were in charge of various resources separated according to the ministry. So we have, for example, the ministry that was in charge of managing the environment. So that ministry was under the framework law number 96/012 of 5th August 1996. So that ministry was in charge of managing everything that had to do with our environment. We also had the Ministry of Mines, Industry and Technological Development. That ministry had to do with everything that has to do with the permission to carry out mining or whatsoever. To the extent, even as far as we have Le Processus de Kimberley, it was also under that ministry. That has to do basically with the traceability and certification of diamonds. So if we have to get anything with permits if you want to document, you want to exploit raw diamond, you had to go under that Kimberley procedure. And that Kimberley, as we call it in French, Processus de Kimberley, that whole procedure is found under the Ministry of Mines, Industry and Technological Power. This ministry was established under a certain decree, a specific decree, sorry about that, decree number 2012/432 of the 1st of October 2012. We also had one last ministry that had to do with forestry, wildlife and fisheries, established by law number 94/1 of 20th January 1994. So that's just to name a very few ministries. So basically that's the ones we chose to talk about, because this was a history of the evolution of natural resources law. As we progress, you notice that we put a lot of emphasis on non-renewable resources, because that's a very lucrative part within our nation, Cameroon, and which we want our youth to get into it very seriously, because we have very little workforce, you know, Jerisol. We have too many vacant offices. So that's basically what brought us into this very lovely channel.